People, Place and Sport is a celebration of grassroots sports, local people and sporting communities and sporting hubs across the region, whilst also questioning what the Commonwealth means to those people. I'm a visual artist and photographer based in Birmingham. I was born in Handsworth and grew up in Bearwood. My visual arts practice involves looking at and exploring issues to do with representation of gender, ethnicity and place. Generally, I work with lots of local communities, lots of local people, and it's about making collaborative portraits, collaborative projects, which really amplify the voices of what I feel are marginalised communities, be it British Asian musicians in the wider landscape of music, be it women's football, where we're looking at gender inequality in sport, or even the project I've done with the Women's Refuge over the last couple of years. It's about working with people and thinking about the authorship of narrative as well. I wanted to really get into the local communities and sporting hubs which wouldn't get highlighted so much when we see the Commonwealth Games on the TV. It's where normal people like me and you will go and use week in, week out. And they're the kind of places that I wanted to highlight, the well-loved changing rooms and sporting gyms and boxing gyms and swimming baths. And one of the things with this project that I also wanted to explore was how the pandemic had changed the way people participate in sports, because so much of what they did was they weren't, or were used to doing, they weren't able to do. And so sport and physical exercise actually took on a whole different meaning. Initially, I could only photograph the spaces because of lockdown and clubs hadn't yet started again to photograph people. That I was going into these sporting spaces and these sporting hubs around the region, and they were completely devoid of people. And it was just me and my camera walking through these spaces, and I was trying to pick out the details of the key things which I thought, that tells the story of this place. Things that people had left there, like the noodles in the swimming baths, or in the women's boxing club, it was there were some gloves that were just sat on a bench. So there was all these little details which I started to pick out. Like even here in Sutton Park, it was the first place I photographed. I started looking at the marks and the tracks and the kind of residue that people leave in an environment. So the footprints for running, or the paths that we run down, or that are well loved, or the cycling tracks. So there's the big mud path in Sutton Park, which the kind of redstone hill, which is used very often. And it really got me thinking about actually how do we leave marks on the environments that we exist in, not just physically but also emotionally. How do we treat our surroundings and the people in them? It was really important to me that I photograph people across Birmingham and Sandwell. But actually what I found when I started photographing the different clubs across the region, that you would get this natural crossover where, for instance, when I photographed at Worley Weightlifting Club, you had people coming there from Harborne. But when I was photographing the Sandwell Flyers Gymnastics Club, they were training both in Albury but in Erdington as well. So even though geographically we have these lines in our region, I think the people here, we constantly cross over and we all use sports across the region. Brummies go to the Black Country and vice versa. And I think that's what's really nice, and what I really wanted to highlight and celebrate with the portraits I was shooting was the different types of people that participate in sports. I think we'll see at the Commonwealth Games, we'll see elite athletes, and rightly so, that's why we love sports and watching it. But what sports means to us on a day-to-day basis is so much more than just competitiveness. It's about community, it's about social engagement, it's about having friends, and it's also so important, not just from a physical and health point of view, but for mental health as well. Birmingham 2022 Festival have supported this work, which is amazing, but it's also really complicated. Like, I feel really complicated about it. It's quite complex in that I'm not sure I agree with the Commonwealth at all and what it stands for, but this is going to be probably the biggest sporting event that takes place in my lifetime in my city, and I felt like I had a responsibility, and I have a voice, and I have a platform where I can really show the best of us and represent us in a really positive manner that sometimes local people don't get seen in the way that hopefully I've managed to shoot in.